What a sad story. What's going on, people? It's Mr. Annie Lock here, back with this week's chapter review, Bleach 565, God Like You. Now in this chapter, I have to say, upon reading it, it was sad to hear about Juha Bach's actual condition. This week's chapter goes into a whole different realm of where I thought it might have gone this week. It didn't go into another fight. It actually starts off with the story of a baby that can't see, speak, hear, or even move. But as the baby grew older, the people around him contributed their souls. Now I know what you may be thinking, yeah, that is pretty sad. But not only did he have the power to absorb the souls around him, as he absorbed the souls around him, he gained their knowledge and their skill. Child was able to impart the power of his soul onto the people around him, thus carving a letter into their soul. This actually goes into my theory of my Volume 7 review, the Happy New Year version of Bleach discussions, that Juha Bach's letter A means the all or the anything, and that not only can he distribute his power, but he can also take it back. That is freaking insane. Those who touched the baby didn't last long, maybe a few months, a few years, or a few days. But and still, people still gathered around this baby. As the pieces of the soul from the people around him returned to this baby, he began to be able to hear, see, talk, and move. The people around him began to call him the curious name, which was the God that he or they believed in. And he decided that he was going to make his own name, Juha Viha. Now I don't understand where the Viha part comes in. And then when you go down to that next panel, who do you see? Teza Zangetsu, or Teza Juha Getsu. And then the next page, we see Juha sitting in his throne, and he says, "Well done, James. You are able to come back now." Which makes me believe that Mass wasn't actually the power or the actual Stern Ritter. The actual Stern Ritter was James. And Mass was actually the extension of his power. Or that's what I'm getting from it. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. You might have a different view on the matter. He didn't say, "Well done and welcome back, Mask." He said, "James." Then we get Uryu standing at the door and staring at the door, and Hashwald walks up to him and says, "What's the matter?" And he also goes to explain that, you know, when Juha is sleeping is when he becomes the father of the Quincy, and that it's how he stores his power. Who do you notice is that, or takes a notice that Hashwald seems different than he did the other day. Now while Juha sleeps and becomes the father of the Quincy, Hashwald becomes the mask of the ruler, and that Juha Bach and Hashwald are connected in different parts of the scale. Juha Bach is connected not only to Hashwald, but to all of the Quincy's. The Quincy's, or let's just say Jugram Hashwell in this situation, knew that Uryu came to actually avenge his mother. But it was too late for him to turn back once he learned what Juha Bak's ability actually is. Hashwell begins to tell Uryu the story of Juha Bak, and we get the title page, Bleach 565, A God Like You. All Quincy's have the power to gather Reishi, except Juha Bak. His power is totally the opposite. Instead of gathering Reishi, when he touches people, he actually distributes a part of his soul in Reishi. Later on, Juha Bak discovers a more power to distribute his Reishi by carving the letter of a power into a person's soul. Uryu drank Juha Bak's blood in the ceremony. He too began to have the ability to carve his name into people's soul. Jugram Hashwell slams his hand against the wall and says, "Why do you have those eyes?" And he goes on to explain that not only the Stern Ritters that die, but the Shinigami that die are absorbed back into Juha Bak's soul. Or better yet, Juha Bak distributed his soul all over the Serite. So basically all of the Shinigami and the Stern Ritters that were killed, when they die, their souls will be offered to Juha Bak for him to absorb. Juha Bak will continue to fight, because if he doesn't absorb the souls of the things and the people around him, that he will go back to that same state as he did as a baby, unable to hear, speak, move, or even cry out. Jugram Hashwell then states that all of the Quincy's live and die for His Majesty. And then the chapter ends with Juha Bak awakening and seeing the Serite, or the flip version of Vandenreich, clearly. Epic panel of the week. The reason why I chose that panel was because it's freaking Tezza Zangetsu. So then that goes into one of my other theories that I've had, and which is confirmed. When Orihime was getting the explanation of her powers from the small sprites, they said your powers were born of Kurosaki Ichigo. And Tsubaki interrupts and says, nobody needs to know that right now. That goes into my other theory. Ichigo actually distributed his powers or pieces of his soul to protect his friends. My overall thoughts on the chapter was, we got some great progression this week, learning kind of the origin of Juha Bak, or basically we learned of the origin of Juha Bak. I still want to go back into the Quincy backstory. I still want to know why Yamamoto and the other Soul Reapers were disengaged to destroy the Quincy. Maybe it's what I said, that, they wasn't dispatched to actually destroy them because they were destroying hollows and almost destroyed the balance of the human world and the soul society. But it was more something more close and personal to Central 46, or the will of the Soul King. This chapter this week had me at a loss for words. It was very sad to see that, Juha Bak, in all of his great strength now, was born with such a weak exterior. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of the viewers of this video. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your feelings on the chapter. Do you feel like Ichigo was actually born with a similar power to Juha Bak? Have a great day, people.